Yeah. And like the people who say, all I need is Jesus. Jesus says, bro, stop using religious dogma and my light goes out.
Are you trying to say something, Jesus? Is this not supposed to happen right now?
Girl, don't blame Jesus.
I'm just asking. I ain't blame him. I asked the question.
Girl. Anyway, the devil mad today, clearly. Anyway, what was I saying? Hey, y'all. My name is Dani. This is my co-host, Domo, and welcome to episode 7, our season finale of the I'm Saved But podcast, where we help millennial Christians transition from religion to relationship by providing a space where they can be transparent about their walk with God and what it really looks like.
Awesome. If y'all haven't, make sure y'all go check out episodes 1 through 6. They are up. They will be up. We'll be putting them in rotation this whole time. Like we said, this is our season finale, which means we're going to take a little break, but this is a perfect time for you to catch up, right? Definitely catch up. First thing we want to do right away is just shout out a couple people and just say so many thank yous. So first of all, we've been at this 2 months now.
2 months.
2 months. It feels like it's been way longer. God has really, really revealed himself in these last 2 months to both of
Most
us
definitely.
in so many different ways. But for sure, we want to give thanks to everyone for the likes, for the follows, for the comments, for subscribing on YouTube, all of that. We are at 180 plus followers on Instagram. We have 370 Facebook followers. Check y'all out. Y'all are so supportive. We
What?
love it. Almost 70 subscriptions on YouTube, and please continue to do that, right? We've had people comment on YouTube. We were actually able to because of not YouTube, I think it was Facebook, they reached out. No, did they reach out to us on Instagram?
It's Facebook.
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 Facebook. We've had a couple people already asking to be a part of the podcast, and we were invited into another podcast, the Obedience Podcast. If y'all haven't checked out that interview we did with them, and like and subscribe to their YouTube channel too, Obedience Podcast. Two beautiful women kicking butt just like us, talking about the Lord, right? It is amazing. And then also shout out to my little sis Desi for being a guest host with us, I guess is what you call it. And our Lillian for coming in and just sharing their thoughts and their experience with trauma. Today, we got to end it with a bang, right? All of the conversations we've had this far have been deep conversations. Like, we
Very
thought we were
deep.
going to be real surface this first couple episodes, and clearly God had other plans. Definitely go check
Clearly.
out last episode. It read you. It read you. It read me inside and out. My husband said it
Hello.
read him. So definitely go
First of
check it
all,
out. Definitely go check it out. All right, let's get into it. Episode 7 is called I'm Saved, but I Need a Hug. I'm saved, but I need a hug. This is
I need a
real.
hug.
This is real. I always need a hug. But there's something deeper to this I need a hug. And so we're gonna our focus for today, I'm saved, but I need a hug, just really talks about the power and importance of intimacy. Intimacy within your community, meaning your circle, meaning your people who have your back, right? Friends, family, whoever, and then also with God, right? Because
Mm.
we have through this pod really been able to see how our relationship with God and talk about how our relationship with each other, me and her being friends, has helped us build our relationships with God. And so here's another way we're gonna talk in the natural and when it comes to building that relationship with God. So Danny, you want to start us off with this one?
All right. So today, when me and Dama was talking about like this episode, one of the things that inspired it was the pandemic. The last couple of years, we have been stuck in the house. Okay, stuck in the house. Have not been able to hang out with our friends or even some of our family. A lot of us have been hit with a lot of like tragic things. We've lost a lot of loved ones. And I don't know about you, but I'm used to when I'm hitting a hard time, talking to like being able to physically face to face talk to my friends, to get a hug, to give a hug, honey. I don't know if you've ever had a Holy Ghost hug. I know y'all know what a church hug is.
It's different.
Look, with a church hug, you leave room for the Holy Ghost. But with a Holy Ghost hug, honey, there's this transference like, oh, get a
Hello.
release, honey. And I needed a Holy Ghost hug and I couldn't get one. And I was upset. It upset me and my homegirls. Okay. But we start talking about like a hug and like what a hug is, and just talking about how, touch and how intimate that is. And one of the things we were talking about is how, even with the Holy Ghost hug or whatever, like God uses people. God uses people, if it's even just a hug or just being in like your presence, coming to see you, a car ride, whatever it is, God
You,
uses people to touch us.
yeah. In that same sense, like God uses people to elevate us, to deliver us. Like He uses people to show us direction. Like He speaks through people. So it's like, if we're not open to it, if we're not open to allowing people in, to having those people who, we can trust to like see us at our full selves, then we missing out on a lot.
Yeah.
If we so cut off, if we are so like, no new friends, nobody in my circle, or so we have so many trust issues, there's so much that we're missing out on in life because we won't allow the people God is trying to put in our paths in. Like that's a sad reality. Or in some cases, the people you are around are the wrong people. And so you ain't going nowhere. You ain't moving. You're not being elevated. You're not, prospering, or y'all all stuck in the same circle y'all done been in for 20 years because you're not choosing your people wisely. Like honestly, with us, like even our friendship, there's probably been more growth than probably any other friendship I've had in my life. Just
Ditto.
like like showing me myself, like God definitely uses Danny to like, and we've said this before, I think in a previous podcast, of just like He uses us to help each other. The conversations that we have help. The moments when we down and being there, it means something. Like you have to really, really, one, be willing to let people in, two, be have discernment over these people that you let in, right? We've talked about community a lot. Christians need a community. And it's not always just so we can have Bible class and so we can pray.
You sure? You sure?
Like we
Okay.
need it for real life events. Like you have to have people in your corner at every step of the way. Just a reality.
I feel like one of the biggest lies that we've believed, especially like with church kids, is that all you need is Jesus and Jesus alone. And Jesus didn't even subscribe to that. I feel like we use that as an excuse to isolate ourselves, um, because we don't know how to connect with people.
Yeah.
Like Christians, we can be really weird. Like we can be really weird. Like just really, really like weird. And that has to do with the fact that we isolate ourselves. You talk about, you use scriptures to, validate what you do. Oh, well, he says to, not be of the world. Woo, woo, woo. I'm not of the world and I'm not in the world either. Jesus had friends.
100%.
Jesus had friends. And all his friends, that's good. And all his friends were not in his clique. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus were Jesus's friends. Jesus loved Lazarus, which is why Jesus wept. Not to bless your food, but because his friend had died.
Yeah. And that's a reality that we need to understand. Like there,
But
I know personally so many Christians who like they, like you said, they use that as an excuse of like, all I need is God and he, will provide all my need. 100%, that is true. God will do exceedingly, right? He will do.
what does the scripture say? God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all you could ever ask or think, according to the power that works in Jesus, no, in you
You.
as a person.
Yes. Which
You or
again,
pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall what? Man, give it to him. Like, not, we've cherry picked scriptures and we only quote half of it without quoting the whole thing. And when we do that, we miss out on the fullness of God and we paint an incorrect picture
yeah,
of God and we have unrealistic expectations of God because what we're expecting God to do, he says, I'm sending someone else to do that. And so you pissed at God when God was just like, you mad because you broke. And God was just like, well, I tried to open the door to get you this job, but
you may want to get out the bed or
hello.
yeah.
Or you were too, or you have imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, like that's real because I missed out on the promotion. They wanted to promote me a few years ago. And I was just like, nah, I'm good. And the Lord was just like, you were supposed to take that promotion, sis. And I was just like, but Lord, he's like, the next time it come around, take it. It came around and I took it.
You took it. Exactly. But and that's
But
the reality. Like the one of the bigger parts of just because like we said, our topic, we're talking about intimacy, right? With your community, with God. First one, right away, you just got to get over it. God uses people. He uses
yeah,
you, he uses people. So if you got these barriers put up, you got these walls put up so nobody could get close to you, you got this, you lonely, you feel by yourself, you ain't got no friends because you keep cutting people off at the drop of a dime, like that's not helping you.
no,
No one should be alone, especially when in need. Like when you are going through something, no one should be alone. There should always be someone, at least if it's only one person, there should always be someone that you could go to because you shouldn't have to carry everything on your own. Like, yes, God will carry everything for you too, 100%. But it's good to have somebody you could go to and hug. It's good to have somebody who maybe, I don't know, you going through and you got 4 kids, having somebody who could come take the kids for a little bit so you can relax. Like if you don't have those options, like you putting yourself in a bad situation.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
that, and that always puts us in this mindset. And I think me and Danny both said that we have this is like a almost like an unwritten rule or just expectation when it comes to friends. Like if I'm weak, I'm in need, I'm down, and I got all these friends, family, spouses, whoever, you got people around you and you can't go to any of them when you are in need, why are y'all friends?
why?
Why are y'all we have to get to a place too, like, and I'm not saying cutting people off, but realizing there's something like to say you're my friend, like there has to be proof.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest parts of a friendship is being like, is someone there for you in times of need. And if I can't count on you in those moments, so especially those lowest moments, then it's like, why are we friends? Why are we
Why?
friends? Why are we married?
Why?
Why are you my family? Why am I putting my time into this relationship? And you not here for me? Like, no. Yeah. We got to reevaluate that.
Hello. And but I feel like also I know for myself, like a lot of times we end up mislabeling relationships. And something that Miles Monroe talks about in his book about purpose, he talks about um it's regarding purpose, but I feel like this also like lines up with relationships. If you try to use a vacuum as a mop, it's not going to work
It's not
the
going
way
to.
that it's supposed to work. If this relationship was supposed to be seasonal or just like within this certain like you have friends for different things and you try to bring, you know, extend the relationship past what it's supposed to be, you can't get mad when it blow up in your face.
Absolutely.
And I've been there. It's just like you mad, like, and this goes for platonic relationships as well as romantic ones. How many of us have been in relationships with the opposite sex, or just romantic relationships in general with people who were assignments?
That just reminded me of this. Oh, I'm sorry if I cut your point out, but that just reminded me of this. I can't remember if it was something I read or a quote I read, but it literally said like love, like loving someone that don't love you back is bad, right? That sucks, 100%. But loving someone knowing that they weren't yours, like that you loving them for the experience so that they can be better for somebody else,
That
like
really,
sadly that is a reality.
and because you mislabeled the relationship, you mislabeled it, honey. I done did that a couple times.
I
And
ain't
then
gonna
you
go
have
there.
to look, you have to forgive you have to forgive yourself. And I think that part is the hardest because then you have to come into the realization that, oh, like my purpose in this, the reason why you were brought into my life was so, you know, I could be a light.
Yep.
But because I was distracted, I mislabeled the relationship, made it something that it never had the capacity to be.
Yep. And now it's
And
harder
now
for
my
me to let go.
girl, now my feelings is hurting. I'm in therapy. I'm in therapy for almost 3 years. Yes,
But
for
that's
my
real. That's real.
life.
And I think the point we're trying to get across here with just these points we're going to, in order to be intimate with God or intimate in a relationship, you first have to evaluate the relationship. You have to make sure that that person is in the place that they're supposed to be in. You have to make sure that, this is a real friendship, real relationship, right? Because they will be tried just like a marriage. In that relationship, friendships are the same way, honestly. Like there will be ups and downs, good days, bad days. Like, but you have to know who your true friends are, who your true family is. Like, because there's some family out here who have ill intentions. And then sometimes you just have to know that and move around. Like,
Look,
but
and
before you can get to that place of intimacy with God or in a friendship, you have to know where those friendships stand, right?
And I feel
And
like if
go
we
ahead.
prayed, I feel like if we prayed more about our relationships, I feel like we would be at a better place. Like
100%.
if we actually, and let me clarify this, actually prayed, like actually sought the Lord, not just praying to say that we prayed because, we already talked about this, about how I was just like, Lord, show me, like, Lord, this person's in my life. Let me know if this person's supposed to be in my life. And the next thing you know, I'm on the phone with my girlfriends talking about some. So yeah, I prayed about it and the Lord ain't said nothing yet. But woo, 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 woo. And when it all blew up in my face, the Lord was just like, you never stood still long enough for
To
me to
hear.
answer.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so if we made that a process to pray, yeah, pray,
Pray.
pray,
That's real.
pray and ask the Lord for discernment.
Yeah. And these couple points of like what we just said, just I want to say them too one more time, right? First of all, get over it. God uses people, right? Second of all, evaluate your friendships, pretty much was our second point, right? Think about who, where they belong. Are they an assignment? Are they here for a lifetime? Can you depend
Yeah,
on them? Are they there in your happy moments just as much as you're sad, or are they only there when they need something? Like you have to evaluate those things, right?
gotta
But that
watch.
same thing, hello, but that same thing goes with God, right? Just like you have to figure out what the placement is of these friends and the natural like element of it, you have to do the same thing with God. You have to know who God is in your life, right? You got to know who He is. And one of the realities, which even myself still struggle with, is I got to stop lying to myself about who my life belongs to. Because at the end of the day, I'm living this life. Yes, I'm walking around doing whatever I want to do, but my life belongs to God. He wrote it, knew it. He knew everything that I was going to do before I did it. He still knows, right? And so and I can't be the only one. And I think me and Danny
Look,
both agree with this already of just like, we got to stop believing like God don't know what we about to do, what we did. Like, why are we hiding stuff from God?
girl,
He
why?
know.
He already know. But subconsciously, we we don't want to deal with the responsibility, I feel like, of knowing that he already knows, because we don't want to have to face that reality.
Yeah.
We and I don't know if we said this yet, but the way that we respond in our natural relationships is reflected in our relationship with God. If you don't have a good relationship with your natural father, it is hard to see God as Father. We
Yeah.
can see God. This don't mean you can't have a relationship with God, because you can. But the question is what part of God are you in relationship with? Are you okay with God being your master? Are you okay with God being your savior? Are you okay with God being your father? Because these are three different like parts of who he is,
Yeah.
characteristics, titles that he holds.
Yeah.
And if we're honest, a lot of us, this whole God the Father thing,
Not even just that. I feel like a lot of us just don't give him that placement.
how
Like
can I though? How can I though if I don't have a good relationship with my dad, or even if I do have a good relationship with my dad, you know, I haven't been loved the way that I feel like I needed to be loved, or,
yeah,
having rejection from men,
100.
and, or whatever it may be.
or
You
trust
know,
issues. Like you don't make
hello.
in the natural, you have a hard time making friends because you don't trust people. In the natural, you build up these walls so that every relationship you have is very surface level. If that's all you're doing, like, and that's the length of your friendships in the natural, what makes you think that you're gonna magically be able to have a deeper relationship with God, somebody you can't see?
Girl, talking about, I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. Lying,
Like,
lying. Stop lying. Because you're not. Because whenever God don't do what you want him to do the way you want him to do it, you're ready to cut him off until you need him again.
period.
And so if you're in a toxic relationship with your natural people, are you like, how are you treating the Lord?
Yeah.
If you don't have any intimacy, any depth in your, and when we're talking about intimacy, and we'll get into this, like people ain't got no problem running off at the mouth about stuff that's going on. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? But just because you are okay with talking about certain things, don't equate intimacy.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't. Like, because you can talk about stuff, but if you're not finna move on or allow somebody to move on what you're talking about,
Hello.
what's the
Hello. And so we're, like she said, we're about to get into intimacy a little bit more because that's like the focus we had, right? The power of intimacy between your community and with God. But one point I want to make right before we get into that is when you evaluate these friendships and your relationship with God, your spouse, your family, whoever, right? When you figure out where the placement is this an assignment, a lesson I'm supposed to learn, or is this somebody that has some longevity in my life, right? When you evaluate those things, one thing to look for, when you evaluate those things, one thing to look for is the fruit.
mm,
If it's in the right place, if it's something that God, placed in your life for a purpose, whether it's season, whether, the remainder of your life, there has to be a place of elevation. Like something has to grow from it.
yeah,
Something has to grow from it. With family, like with my siblings, with my best friends, like there are things that they have pushed me to become better. I've pushed them to become better, or things that we've created together, like this podcast. this is not an
exhibit
this is not an assignment in and of our own. Like, yes, like we came up with the thought, yes, we put, the action behind it, but these last 6 episodes of conversations that we had with y'all, that's not what we had planned.
not at all.
But
Not
simply
at
because
all.
we are using this space to, one, tell people about God, to give God the glory, right? Showing how much our relationship has helped us build a relationship with God and has pushed us closer to God. It's like that is the fruit of putting in the work in a friendship, in a relationship, whatever, in a marriage. There has to be something that comes of it. And if you need to use that as a way to evaluate the friendships, look for the fruit. If both of y'all still dry in the desert, maybe you don't need it. Or maybe it's time to
If
have a
it's
deep,
rotten,
maybe it's time to have a deeper conversation about what are we doing with this. And this is for friendships too. Like you could have the same way with a spouse, with a marriage. You want to go to counseling, you want to communicate with each other, you could do that same thing with your friends and your family. Set boundaries, like be clear about what you need from this friendship. Like that's the reality.
set a vision for your relationships. What do we want this friendship to look like?
Yeah.
Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to pray? Like friendships, what friendships take you, they are like trips. Like not trips, my God. Lord. What is wrong with me today? Friendships are like ships.
Ships. Okay. Okay. That's what you were saying. Ships. Okay.
Friendships are like ships. They take you from one destination to another. And if you don't have a vision for what this ship is, where this ship is supposed to go, you're going to end up in the middle of nowhere on a ship and be mad
Yep.
because you never charted out where y'all was going,
Yep.
or y'all fighting over who has the reins because one person want to go one place, the other person want to go another place, and then now you in the middle of a storm, and then it gets struck by lightning, and then the waves come, and now both of y'all are over here like the Titanic on driftwood.
I'm not going to deal with you.
I mean, but you are though.
But it's
You
true. But it's true.
are.
That is definitely true. So our first point, just trying to help y'all, help each other, help with your relationship with God, right? In the natural, same as your relationship with God. Evaluate those friendships. Find out who's supposed to be there, who not, and make it happen because your life will probably move at a better pace. You probably have a little bit more joy, probably surrounded by people you know who have your back and you can trust, right? And so, again, our episode today, I'm Safe, but I Need a Hug, talks about the importance and the power of intimacy in those relationships. And so, what we're going to go into next is talking about intimacy.
But
And, huh?
turn off the lights and grab, and what's the words?
And light a candle.
And
And so,
oh
it's
yeah.
right. Intimacy, one. So, let's start right there. Intimacy, yes, in one aspect is straight on sex, right? That is that is intimacy in some relationships. Shouldn't be in all your relationships, but that, that's one level of it, right? And so there are, well, we're going to look at four different ways that you see intimacy in relationships, right? So the first one, most of us know, when we hear intimacy, normally we think you and your spouse or your significant other, physical touch, having sex, right? But that can also include hugs.
Hugs.
That can also include, that lady who in the church, the sweet little old mother who always just got to come by and pat you on your shoulder. It can be a handshake. It can be whatever when it comes to proximity, physical touch, right? So that's the first one. And it's, I don't want to say surface because it's not really surface, but one layer of intimacy is the physical layer of intimacy, right? Being in close proximity to someone else, right? I ain't gonna stay long on that one because that one's just straightforward. We know what that means, right? Now, the ones that we don't talk about as much, that's these next couple ones. And I like these a little bit more because that one, that's private. Do what you want to do when it comes to the physical side, right?
Not do what you want. Oh my
I
God.
mean, when you married, right? Because that's what God said. Okay. So do what you want to do when it comes to that end of it.
I was trying to get a hug out here.
But still, and like I said, in another context, physical is that just touch, like a hug. When I'm sad, crying, want a hug.
Hello.
That kind of thing too.
But
It's a
sex
big
is
part.
very important in
Yes,
marriage.
just time, like cuddling. That's laying on the couch watching a movie. Like that's intimate time too. Like it's not always about sex, but when it comes to the physical aspect of intimacy, that's where our mind normally goes. And that's not all it is. Second one is emotional. It's emotional. Intimacy in the emotional like state of it, like is tied directly to safety. Like,
Mm.
can I feel safe if I show you my full self, right? In the natural, if I show you my inner secrets, thoughts, whatever, if I'm able, if I express myself to you, like, can I feel safe giving you all of me?
Mm.
right? And that's a part that I think a lot of friendships, relationships, whatever, miss out on too. Like we've talked about this podcast being a place for people to be transparent, right? To be open. That is a part of emotional intimacy.
Yeah.
Like feeling safe to be open. Like in your one way, evaluate your friendships. Are you willing to be your full self? Like, can you? Do you feel safe putting all of you out there on the line?
Mm.
And if you do not, and I'm not saying just go cutting off people, it's more so saying like you need to reevaluate the friendship, talk about it, have a discussion about it. Because if
Yeah,
you really call someone your friend, especially best friend, you should be able to do that.
you should. And sometimes it's not your friend. Sometimes it is you, which is why we tell
100%.
y'all to go to counseling because your friend can't make you be transparent.
Yes.
And so if you feel like you have a lot of relationships around you where you feel like you cannot be transparent about how you feel or you don't feel safe in any of your relationships, the common denominator is you. And so as you reevaluate these relationships, you should probably also reevaluate your relationship with yourself.
That's real.
Just thought I'll throw that in there.
That's real.
Because a lot of people like to, we go on a defensive. You know what I'm saying? It's always like, I can't trust nobody. I can't trust nobody. I can't be transparent with nobody because, and I've been there, so I understand what it is. And the problem was never Dominique or any of my other friends. The problem was me because I had a expectation of what I thought other people expected me to be or act. And I was the only person holding myself to that standard and I was miserable.
Mhm.
So as you check your relationships, also check yourself.
Yep.
That's all I got to say.
And that same thing goes for, like we said, your relationship with God,
Yeah.
right? Being transparent with God. I mean, come on. You can't help but be transparent with God. He know.
He know, but we be acting like he don't.
But we act like he don't. Like if he already knows everything, like that's, and I think we mentioned this in another episode, like we have to get past this place of like when things go wrong or when we're not doing things in alignment with what God wants us to do, that he's angry with us all the time.
Yeah.
Like that's not always sometimes, yeah, he probably do get pissed off at us. I believe God has a sense of humor and he probably get mad at us all the time. But the purpose, like when we go through the purpose, not the purpose of God, but one of the biggest reasons God is there is for us to lean on him
Yeah.
and to go to him when we are in need, when we need help. So if like that emotional level of intimacy when it comes to being with God, understand he already knows, so you might as well go to him and talk to him about it.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of that also has to do with the fact that we are taught that um like there's certain things you can't express
Mhm.
emotionally because we're talking about the emotional side. And if we're honest, sometimes we are angry at God, which is the reason why we don't want to talk to him and we avoid him and we're not very transparent about what's really going on because as Christians, we don't know how to deal with what happens when I'm angry with God. How do I process this?
Yep.
Because you're dealing with people that were raised under God don't make no mistakes, which he doesn't, and a don't question God like mentality. It just is what it is. Get over it. But what happens when I'm angry? My anger don't go away.
I don't.
Now I don't want to talk to you. I'm still going to church, or I'm not
Or
going to
I'm
church.
not. Exactly. Or I'm
You
not.
know, because you can either or, like you could. I've done it. I've been angry at God and still went to church and still served and still went out there singing, but my heart wasn't right, and you can tell because look, you're used to having a response, and then it's just not the same. You're sitting there
Yeah.
because your heart not right, and it's just like God is not upset that we might be upset with Him. Our anger is not a sin. Like the Bible even says, be angry but sin not. And it's just like if he says to come to me and to talk to me about what's going on, if he already know that we angry at him, why are we walking around the house like we can't like he don't see us?
Yeah.
Like that part in the Medea play. You see me, I see you, you see me. We sitting there like two big Barneys. That's how Lord be acting. He's just like
Don't
she
say
mad, he mad. I don't know why he just won't like why they just won't sit down and talk to me about it. And then next thing you know, you ain't talked to the Lord in like 4 months to
yeah.
a year.
That's a big point right there with any relationship with God, with your friend, with your spouse, with your mama, with your auntie, whoever. Y'all got to talk to each other. Communication is the hardest thing in
Yeah.
relationships. It is difficult. And if you want to get to, like we said, this level of intimacy, whether we've talked about just the natural already, but like physical intimacy, we talked about, now we're talking about emotional intimacy. If you want those things, you got to be able to talk about it. They have to know. Can't nobody read your mind. And again, I don't talk about anything that I haven't gone through. I am a horrible communicator. I'm working on it. It's an area of mine that I am struggling with. But I do realize when I don't, or when I bottle things up, or when like Danny said, when I get angry with God, with my husband, with my family, like, and I just shut down and like cut people off, that don't build the relationship in any way. In most cases, it's hurting me more than it's hurting anybody else, or it's making the situation worse. And it's like, yeah, easier said than done. But like, if you want to any relationship to grow in that direction, to be more intimate, to be more transparent, to be able to come to each other with anything, you just got to do it. And you got to communicate it. That's just the reality.
That is the reality. And you'll be really surprised at how God responds to your anger, how God responds to your disappointment.
Yeah.
You know,
Your
you
sadness, your joy, he responds to everything.
and it's not the way that we think, and I think that's another reason why like we don't we don't go to God and we're not really transparent with him because like we were raised to know that you know God is a jealous God and oh God, the terrible, the great, and we don't get enough of God, the loving Father,
Yeah.
the one that loves you so much that he was willing to give, you know, all that he had to get back into relationship with you.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we understood, like really understood that, because I feel like we talk a lot, like we use a lot of cliches and stuff. But I feel like what we're really talking about is the application of the things that we say. And we talk about God being a good, good father, or he's a loving father, all this other stuff. But in reality, says we run from the hills, we run to the hills, be like, bye, I'm not talking to you. No,
Exactly.
avoiding him at all corners, turns, because we're afraid. We're afraid of what that conversation would look like. And that's even in our own relationships
Yep.
too. Having
100%.
a hard conversation, avoiding that hard conversation because we are afraid of or we've already played out in our head. If you think like me, I have dress rehearsals in my head
Girl.
about how conversations are going to go. I'm over here practicing. If this person says this, then I'm gonna say this. Then if this person says this, I'm going to say this because I've already had enough conversations with this person. I already know how this person
That's
is going
so
to respond.
real. That's so real.
But when you do that, I feel like
We
um,
scare ourselves out of having the
yeah,
conversation. When
that
and
these
it probably will go totally different than that.
yeah,
I've had
or it might
similar
not.
or might not. That's true. Like I've had similar situations like professionally where
Yeah,
I didn't want to address something or have a difficult conversation with a coworker and played out the scenarios in my head, then push myself to go do it, and the conversation went totally different than what I was expecting. But I would have hindered, my growth or somebody else's growth
yeah,
had I not spoken up about it. And that's a reality for relationships. That's a reality. We got two more points, y'all. So we've talked about physical intimacy, right? That's the touch, that's the sex, that's the, hug, all of that included. We talked about now, what was the second one?
emotional.
Emotional.
Are you willing to be transparent
Yes. Can you be
in order to
yourself?
feel safety? Yeah,
Yes. Can you be yourself? Can you allow your friends to be themselves? Because you got to check yourself in that area too, right? Communicate, talk to each other. That's emotional. The next one is spiritual intimacy. And a lot of
ooh,
people don't think in natural relationships with your husband, with your wife,
friends.
with your parents, with your whoever, that the spiritual aspect is there, but it's there. And it has to be there for the relationship to really elevate you or grow in the way that you're expecting it to. If there is spiritual intimacy, I feel like kind of two things you should automatically see. You're going to see both of you growing closer to God. If there's real spiritual intimacy there, both of you should be pushing each other to go to God more, right? Finding that time for God. And then also you should see the fruit, like I said, with any friendship. There has to be something that comes from it, something that grows from it. If you are really connected spiritually, like y'all ever heard that, like evenly yoked, right? Meaning y'all on the same
Evenly yoked.
even, you know what I meant, equally
Equally.
yoked.
I had to think about it. I said,
It sounded so right when it came out. It sounded
I
right
said
too. I
that
was sure.
sound right, but
I
that's
was
not
sure about that. Don't judge me. Equally. And that does not only go for marriages, that goes for
uh,
friendships.
it does. And I
That goes for
hate that
family.
people just limit it to romantic relationships.
It is not just romantic relationships. You have to be on the same page with your friends, with your family. Like y'all all have to want to grow or you're gonna be stagnant.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be very difficult.
Yes.
That can be and I feel like this is like the one form of intimacy that people really don't dive into
Mm.
really when it comes to Christians because there is this like understanding that, oh, Jesus, I accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior, blah, 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is that, honey, everybody that said they're a Christian is not. Like, people claim Jesus all the time. But to be a Christian means that you are a Christ follower, which means that we're supposed to reflect Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if we all are supposed to be reflecting Jesus Christ, but these relationships are bringing you further and further away from your relationship with the Lord, that's not saying that they're not a Christian, but what I'm saying is that maybe this is not the friend for you
Yeah.
because these relationships are supposed to bring you closer to Him. Do your friendships challenge your relationship with God? Do they challenge you to go deeper? And it's not just like we can use our relationship for example, right? So we've already talked about, you know, I'm the super safe friend. Dominique, she saved. All right, I'm the super safe friend. Whatever. I'm really
Uh,
spiritual. Dominique is very practical. And what you don't see is that I struggle with practicality sometimes. And Dominique struggle with spirituality sometimes.
all the
Both are important in your relationship with God because God is a spirit, but he is also very practical
time. Very
as well.
exactly.
And if you are not willing to allow people to help you, like we've been talking about, God uses people to help you. If I was unwilling to be transparent with Dominique, saying, hey, look, you know, I'm out here trying to date, or, I'm out here doing this, and that, and X, Y, and Z just not working for me. Dominique will go and give me tips A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This is what you need to do, this is what you need to pray for, this is what you need to confess, woo, 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 whatever. Dominique could come, hey, this is going through some spiritual warfare. What do I do? And I'd be like, okay, I got you. Do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We both have different strong points. We both have different strengths. However, our strengths help each other
Right.
get closer to God. We
Right.
push each other to be closer to God.
Yeah.
God trying to get me to be more practical. God trying to get her to be more spiritual.
Yep. And it can't be a competition.
No, it can't.
Like you can't want, like, as much as I want myself to prosper, like I want that same thing for my friends.
Yeah,
Like their biggest cheerleaders, biggest supporters. Or if there's areas that they're doing way better than me in, like honestly, their growth, right? Their blessings, I'm probably tied to their blessings. Like I could get some overflow because,
I know.
we're putting in the work for each other, right? And that same thing goes with, like, again, your relationship with God and romantic relationships. Like it can be a competition. It's not about who wins, who has the last word. It's not about, um I'm better at this than you are, so you can't give me any advice in this area type. Like there's always, I think it's also a big part again of how we were raised and relationships that we've seen and observed. But like when it comes to growing with each other spiritually, you both bring something different to the table.
Yeah,
And as my covering, right? And again, that could happen in friendships too. Like normally when we hear somebody covering me, you're thinking more of like a husband and wife, right? Your spouse,
yeah,
he covers you or whatever. But that can happen in friendships too. Like covering somebody when this is an area where they lack,
yeah,
or this is an area where they're doing really, really well. You don't want them to be taken advantage of. Like same thing, right? Same as in relationships. Like it's not about I got this and you got that, but it's like, how can we use both of these things together to grow something bigger?
exactly.
And that's where the spiritual connection come in and that spiritual intimacy come in, because it's not simply about I want to be elevated or I want to do better, but I'm using what I have to help you get better too.
Yeah,
Right? We're a team. We're working together. And every friend has a different purpose, like a different purpose. They are there to serve a different purpose. Like me and Danny have another best friend, Isha, and we've mentioned her before. Like all three of us together 100%, like elevate each other, push each other, supportive of each other. But there are probably certain times when there's something on my mind that I want to talk about that I will go to Isha first, then I will go to Danny, right? Or Danny would come to me first, then go to each. Like we just know that different friends serve different purpose. I have other friends outside of just Isha and Danny that there are other conversations I've had with them that I probably haven't had with Danny. But it's because I know that like this area is something that they've experienced. So maybe they
Yeah.
can help me better in that area.
And I think like that's the biggest thing. Like as believers, I feel like we miss out on the fullness of God because we expect all of our friends to be carbon copies of ourselves or be so similar to how we are that we don't realize that it is the things that make us different
Yeah.
that gives us our strength. And I think that's something that I learned from you, is the fact that you need different friends for different things. Like if all your friends are the same, that can cause some
Yeah.
problems.
Because who's pushing each other? Who's
like
like, if
who's
y'all
going
all
that's
exactly,
boring.
that's boring. If y'all all stuck in the same place, who's pushing each other? Who's elevating each other? Who's questioning your motives? Like, if y'all all feel and believe, thinking the same thing, like, how are you growing?
You have no one to challenge you
How are
because
you?
everybody's just like, okay, yay. Like, no. Like Dominique, she challenges me so much on so many different levels. She does. Like anybody who know me, like I come up with big ideas all the time. Okay. And Dominique, when I bring her some ideas, she'll look at me and she'll just be like, maybe, maybe not. Like, and sometimes you need like, maybe you need to think about that a little bit more. Cause I just, yeah, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And you need people to help you out because what you can do, like, not saying that the ideas aren't from God or whatever, but sometimes you will, if you don't have people to help you kind of navigate and challenge some of the things that ideas that you have,
Mhm.
sometimes you can prematurely do things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, you can. And so it's just like you need those people because there's safety. There's safety in that. If all you got surrounded you, a whole bunch of yes men, ain't no safety in that.
not at all.
Ain't none. If you don't have Christian friends, like people that can actually pray for you, cover you, be a hedge of protection for you, like that you can call at 1 o'clock in the morning and be like, I need y'all to pray. One like Isha did that one time. She called us, she was like, hey, we need to pray. And I ain't even finna lie, I hadn't prayed in a while. Uh,
Yeah,
and we all was on the line and we all prayed. But you need people who can do that for you.
yeah,
And in doing that, you have to, like, we talk about Jesus being the example, right? Jesus had friends, Jesus had a group of people. He had 12 disciples, right? And I feel like we talked about this before about identifying your three. You need to be able to identify your three and your nine. The three got to see intimate parts of Jesus that the nine did not get to see.
yeah,
You need to find your three. You need to find your three. You need to ask God to reveal to you who your three are. And all three of them were totally different.
yeah.
It was Peter, James, and John, I believe, were three. Peter cussed a lot and he was fighting. He had a horrible temper. All right. So, you might have a ratchet friend. That's cool. You need one. Look, you need one that's ready to knock if you buck. I mean, you just need one.
Oh God.
Okay. Everybody need to fight on a squad. All right. You have John the beloved, who was very loving, very sensitive. And then you had James, and I don't really know what James was doing, to be honest, but he was there.
Busted up.
Uh
That's
like,
busted up.
I gotta go look it up. But like all of them they were different. They served um different needs,
Yeah.
and they were all important to Jesus and Jesus's ministry.
Yeah.
That don't mean the other nine weren't important because they were, but it's just like you got to be able to have those people.
Yeah.
So we're talking about not emotional, we're talking about spiritual intimacy. And when it comes to your friends, all right, you need to pray and ask God to show you who your three are.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep in mind that your three are not going to be carbon copies of you.
It
They're
shouldn't
going to
be.
be, they shouldn't be. They're going to be very different. They need to be. Okay. And then also identify your nine. All right. These are people that you still cool with, but their access is just different.
Yeah. Yes, there's different levels to that. Nobody should. I don't believe. I don't know. I've heard this in like as far as a romantic relationship, but like being married, like I feel like nobody should have access to my husband that I have.
You shouldn't.
Right.
They shouldn't have that.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think, like, yes, he has best friends, he has siblings, he has aunts, he has whatever. But like when it comes to especially that spiritual side of it, and that even all of them, spiritual, emotional, physical, like I maybe I don't
Some
know if
access,
selfishly, but my
some access
access
is
should be very
reserved.
different
Exactly.
than
You
from
should have all
anybody.
clearance, okay? Top clearance over here with the
Exactly.
FBI,
And it takes
okay?
growth. Like it doesn't happen right away. Like it takes time, but that's the same thing with relationships. Like you have to be really, really conscious, know who's in your circle and know what they have the capacity to hold.
Yeah,
Because
who
not
gives what?
every yes, not every friend can hold everything. Not every friend can be there for every situation. Like you have to know that. And the only way to know that, one, like we said, you got to pray about it. You got to go out and weed. That's just the reality. You got to take out some things. You
Bro.
got to communicate. You have to talk about those things, especially on the spiritual level. Because when you start to connect with somebody spiritually and that gets tied in together, like that's heavy. And you got to be ready for the punches
Look,
just as much as you get ready for the joy. Like,
look, come on.
because if I'm going to allow Danny to be there for me and allow God to speak through Danny and I hear it, and like trust that she has like good intentions about what she's speaking into my life and what she's praying for, like you got to take that serious. That can't be somebody who just these little baby patty cake prayers. You got to know that it's somebody who gonna cover you, and that's
Look,
just the reality.
it is just
That's just the reality.
the so check your friend group.
Check your friend
Check
groups,
them,
check
please.
your friend groups, check your relationships, check your marriages, check your, I ain't gonna say the rest of them, whatever else you got.
Check your peoples.
Check your
And
people.
look, check your peoples. And
Yeah.
then next we got mental intimacy. All right. So basically being transparent about your thoughts, your ideas. Are your thoughts and ideas safe? Are you allowing these people to hold you accountable? Are you allowing these people to support you? In true relationships and true, friendships, there has to be accountability. We live in a culture where it's only God can judge me. And that's cute. That's cute. But what you're really trying to say is like y'all talking about condemnation. But but you need some friends to be able to judge your actions, to be able to weigh your actions. You need to have people in your circle that can correct you.
Yes.
If you don't have people in your circle who can correct you, why y'all friends?
Yes. Period.
If your wife can't correct you, if your husband can't correct you, if your friends, it can't nobody correct you, go to counseling. You
Period.
have a problem with authority, and there's probably some childhood trauma.
And yes, and we also have to change our mindset about correction. Like
Yeah.
it's not always coming from a place where I'm trying to attack you.
No.
Right? It's not always coming from a place of I'm trying to change you. It's more of I know that you can do better than this. Right? I see And a lot of times, like, I'm gonna tell you, I've had some really, really close friends and my husband too, and they see things in me that I do not see. But I can't, like, I'm not gonna receive it if if I'm on the defense all the time. I'm not gonna receive it if somebody comes saying you did something I didn't like, or you you have this idea or this thing you're about to do, but you keep I know myself, I talk myself out of a lot of things. And so it's like, if I don't have friends or a spouse in my corner to push me in areas where I'm struggling at, or I feel safe enough to let them hold me accountable and I don't get offended all the time, like, that's what friendships are for. That's what relationships are for. And if
Gosh,
you can't do that, one, you don't need those friends. Two, you need to go to counseling and figure out why you can't do that.
that's the first thing you need to do.
Well, that's
Like,
first.
go to
Exactly.
counseling first because it might not be your friends, it might be you.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's not easy. Like, we're
Nope.
talking through these things like quickly, but none of this is easy. Connecting with somebody physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, it's not easy.
Nope.
It's going to take work, years and years of work. But if you're going to say you truly someone's friend, spouse, wife, husband, whatever, you have to be willing to put in the work.
Yeah. And I feel like, um, if we can just be transparent, you know, a lot of I did, like, even this podcast, being transparent enough to throw this idea out and be like, hey, I think that we should record these conversations that we're having because we can't be the only ones that are, you know, having these conversations that are, having these same issues.
Yeah.
But I had to feel safe enough in my relationship with Dominique, which requires me to be transparent with Dominique, especially emotionally and spiritually. I feel like were like the two things that help me feel comfortable mentally with her,
100%.
to be able to be like, hey, this is an idea that I have. What do you think?
And I was like, wait, you want me, people to hear my voice on camera?
Girl.
You want me to get in front of a camera? And then I was like, wait, because the attacks that's going, I'm going to tell y'all don't know the attacks that has come from when you on a larger platform talk about God. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
If you ain't never did it before, if you've never shared with other people your journey, your testimony, what God has brought you from, brought you through, once you start doing that and saying it out loud on a
Girl,
larger scale, the
the attacks,
life get real.
it get real, real.
And God be up to something because he clearly had other plans than what we had in mind.
Hello.
And but that's just the reality of it. Like, if Danny wasn't safe, didn't feel safe with me emotionally or spiritually, or like, feel like she could bring this idea to me, she would have, one, probably stunted a blessing of her own. And for both of us, honestly, because I never would have said this on my own. You wouldn't have got me to say I'm finna talk about Jesus on a camera to other people
Girl, on the internet though?
on the internet. No, like, you would have never gotten me to do that, but I felt safe with her
Yeah.
because I know the spaces that we have, and when we have these transparent conversations, I feel safe there, and I'm like, okay, it's just gonna feel like that. And I trust to know that, like, whatever she does, she puts her hand to, she do it. And so I'm like, okay, well, if we gonna do this, let's do it. And it's been really good. It's been rewarding just as much as it has been a spiritual attack. I ain't gonna even lie to you, but it's been just as
It's been
rewarding.
challenging. It's been causing us to grow and have conversations that we did not want to have.
Yep.
Okay. Because if we're honest, this whole episode was supposed to be coping with the pandemic. And what are we talking about? We are talking
Intimacy.
about the importance of intimacy with God and your community. And it's just like, y'all, it's so important to build that up, You know what I'm saying? And we don't know. We don't know where this podcast is going to take us.
Nope.
Okay. We have absolutely no idea.
I
All we have,
literally, I think I said the other day, like I'm loosing expectations. Like
like,
I'm getting rid of expectations.
because it's already like it's already exceeded what we already thought it would do. Like we felt like where we are right now, like this would happen like in a year or two, possibly. You know what I'm saying? Like it is just crazy how God has used our relationship to not just bring us closer to Him, but by default, also bringing you all
Yeah,
closer to Him and closer to each
100%.
other, I hope, with your besties.
100%. Like I've had family members already reach out. Like we said, people have commented and told us just how a conversation we had has really helped already. Like it's been 2 months, y'all.
Only 2 months.
Only 2 months. Like my husband has talked about how a couple of the episodes, like he was able to connect to. I think my mom, she's like, I want to start a podcast.
Come on, mama. Yes.
But like I said, the blessings and the help, like the purpose, yes, we want to be transparent. We want to help people, by just simply having our regular conversations that we have all the time. And it clearly has shown that it can help. But again, in order to do that, in order to get to a place where you can trust your ideas, thoughts with somebody else, in order to get to a place where you can talk about God in a larger platform and be honest about your struggles on your Christian walk with God, like in order to get to that place, you need people that you can go to, you can confide in, that can help you, that can support you. And it's not always just that surface level. Like there is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual connections that you have to make with people who you are allowing to be a part of your life for long periods of time.
Yep.
You have to make those connections.
You got to get some depth to your relationships because the truth of the matter is a lot of our relationships suck.
Yeah.
The health of our relationships are horrible.
Yeah.
And
And it's because we suck too.
yeah, I mean we do.
Because
We're unhealed. And
yes.
what we don't realize is that a lot of people we're trauma bonded to.
Yes.
We think that, oh, this is my best friend. We've been best friends. The truth of the matter is that the foundation of your relationship is trauma.
Yeah.
You all have a shared trauma. And let me tell you, I'm speaking from experience. When you start healing, you start going to therapy.
Yeah.
That therapy will start to jack up some of your relationships. And I remember the Lord telling me, He said, hey, I think just like a year and a half into like therapy and whatnot, I got a lot of good breakthroughs in my therapy sessions. And He was just like, be prepared for some of your relationships to shift.
Yeah.
And honey, relationships that I never thought would have
Have shifted.
shifted.
And I think even for me, like she's saying, like being in therapy, having breakthroughs, allowing God to speak, and open doors, close doors, change
Oh,
some things around. I think even for me in this podcast, like, and just taking, like, me and Danny have been having conversations for over 10 years now. But when we used it on this platform, when we started it, like, I didn't know what to expect from it, right? I thought we was gonna have our typical conversations, but like I said, the attacks and the elevation have both happened at the same time. And for me, a big real like I wasn't in counseling when we first started this, and now I am. Like
whoop,
have
whoop.
had my first, counseling session or whatever. But having these conversations, and again, our hope is more than anything, our hope is to help everybody see that you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
You're not alone. These struggles are real. Like being open and being transparent and having these conversations can help so many people.
Yeah.
So many people. And this is only season 1. This is only 7 episodes, y'all. 7 episodes. And I know our lives are changing. People have told us about how their lives are changing. So we only looking for more from here. But like I said, I ain't got no roof. There's no ceiling to where we're looking for this to go because
No,
clearly
I
God
quit.
got other plans.
Clearly, there's nothing that's going. Only thing that came out, actually, even the name that I first came up with the podcast, which I will not disclose.
Lord, thank God for deliverance, y'all.
Hello,
Because
because that was
the first name was not it.
it definitely was not. It- Thank you, Lord.
For sure.
But you have to have people that are willing to correct you. You have to have people that you're safe with, to tell your crazy ideas to,
Yes.
that you feel safe enough to allow to correct you, to be like, yeah, I don't think that's a good name for a podcast. I think this limits you.
Yep.
That's a good way of telling me it's a bad idea.
That's it. But then I'm saved but was born and it
It
has no
was
limits.
none, none
It
at
has
all.
no limits at all. And it's been really good. So
Yes, man.
yeah. So I again really quick just want to say thank y'all. Thank y'all for going through this first part of this journey with us. Literally like our toe is in the water, like first part of this journey. With I'm Saved But podcast with Dani and Domo. It has been a journey. We're gonna take a break. We don't know yet how long. We'll let y'all know soon.
But we still get stuff coming.
But we still
So
got stuff
be
coming.
looking out for a video to come out in a couple weeks or so regarding what our plans are. We got some bomb plans. Okay. If
Got
I
some
do
sick
say so
stuff.
myself,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
got some bomb plans. So y'all
Yeah.
be looking out.
Y'all be looking out. Continue to like, comment, go back and catch up on all the old videos if you haven't. Let us know if there's some topics y'all want to hear. Definitely shout out to anybody who has already done it. But definitely let us know what y'all want to hear before, because we already in the making for the next part. So y'all better get those thoughts in quick or else you're gonna be over with now. But like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, on what, Apple Podcast, everywhere podcasts are
Everywhere.
available. Follow, like, subscribe, download, comment, all of that. Share us, let your family know. Get some more people watching because we really appreciate it. Um, our usual schedule Tuesdays at 5 p.m. We're gonna take a little break, but we'll still be putting some content out there and resharing some stuff. So y'all stay with us. Don't y'all go nowhere.
Yeah. Let us know what your favorite episode was
Oh, that would be
from
really nice.
season one.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, like Dominique said earlier, hey, check out our interview with the Obedience Podcast with Ash and Shay.
Woo!
We love y'all. I listen to their podcast all the time when I'm at work.
Yes.
Okay. And let me tell you, these sisters right here, our
Yes, I can't
besties,
wait.
man, they are amazing. Their content,
Yes. I'm
amazing.
done with work, so I'm binge watching it soon. So definitely
I
go and
love.
check it out so we can talk about it for sure. We definitely look forward to collabing with them some more. Any other Christian podcasts out there want to collab, or really any podcast, definitely hit us up. Let us know. We love the community. We always looking for the community.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Guess
y'all.
what?
Thank y'all so much for getting through season 1 with us. We appreciate it.
And you know what? As always, remember, I love you.
I love you more.
And we love you 3000. Bye.